The first match wouldn't light. Mira held her thumb against the red tip, feeling the rough sulfur powder scrape against the waxy strip. A hard strike? No flame. Just a dark gray streak, and the acrid chemical smell of failure. She glanced over her shoulder, into the thick darkness of the kitchen. Her breath hitched in her chest. The sound had stopped, but the silence that replaced it was worse. She fumbled for the second match. The story didn't begin tonight. It began 6 months ago, when they arrived, a rickety truck carrying their entire lives, a few tin trunks, some sacks of clothes, and a debt as vast as the desert pulled up to the sandstone arch of this crumbling Haveli. Mira's father, Rohan, had taken a caretaker's post. It was an unpaid job, offered only in exchange for lodging. They were given the old servants' quarters, deep in the compound, separate from the magnificent shuttered main building. Mira, 16, hated it on sight. The place smelled of thousand-year-old dust and rotting metal. The dry Rajasthan heat was oppressive, coating everything in a film of yellow grime. But Anaya, her sister, loved it. Anaya, 6 years old and frail since birth, with lungs as fragile as paper, was delighted by the vast courtyards and the wild peacocks that shrieked from the rooftops. The first few weeks passed in a false quiet. Her parents, Rohan and Priya, worked from dawn until dusk, trying to clear the dead garden and patch the flaking walls. Mira was left in charge of Anaya. It was a burden Mira silently She had given up her school, her friends. Her life was now a rotation of taking temperatures, counting breaths, and listening to the faint, wheezing whistle every time Anaya inhaled. The strangeness began with a sound. First came the pails, the jingle of ankle bells. Mira was washing clothes in the rear courtyard, a perfect square trapped by 4 high walls. The air was still, the sun merciless. She heard it. Chank, chank. A light, metallic music, as if someone was walking barefoot on the stone veranda above. Mira looked up. Nothing. She told herself it was the peacocks. But peacocks don't wear anklets. Then came the scent. One evening, Mira was reading to Anaya by the light of a kerosene lamp. The room was thick with the smell of damp and the dried kudung patties they used for fuel. Suddenly, a wave of jasmine swept in. It was sweet, overpowering, and entirely out of place. It drowned every other smell. Anaya took a deep, rattling breath. Her eyes closed. "It's nice," she whispered, her breathing suddenly clear. Mira ran to the window. The jasmine bush in the garden had been dead for weeks, its branches skeletal in the moonlight. When she turned back, the scent was gone. Anaya began to change. First, her cough subsided. Her parents were overjoyed, crediting the dry desert air. But Mira noticed other things. Anaya started to hum ancient, complex melodies Mira had never heard. She would sit alone in the courtyard, talking to the walls. "Anaya, who are you talking to?" Mira asked, her voice sharp with annoyance. Anaya smiled. A strange, secret smile that didn't belong on a 6-year-old's face. "The ladies," she replied. "What ladies?" "The colorful ladies. They live in the big house. They say I'm pretty. They promised I won't be sick anymore." A chill traced its way down Mira's spine. "Don't be stupid. No one lives there." Father locked the doors. "They don't need doors," Anaya said, and went back to humming. That night, Mira saw them for the first time. She woke to a feeling of cold, an irrational chill, when the temperature outside was still over 30 degrees. She lay on her mat, beside Anaya. The room was dark. Mira held her breath. Chank, chank, chank. The anklets were back. This time, they were in the room. Mira turned her head. Slowly, in the sliver of moonlight filtering through the door, her sister was sitting up. But she was not alone. 2 shadows stood over Anaya's bed. Tay, were, tall, impossibly thin. Mira couldn't see their faces. Just the silhouettes of elaborate gagracholis and the dull glint of heavy jewelry. The smell of jasmine was so thick it made her want to gag. One of the shadows bent low. A thin, pale hand, covered in rings, reached out and stroked Anaya's hair. Anaya leaned into the touch, smiling in her sleep. The other shadow turned toward Mira. Mira saw no eyes, but she felt the gaze. It pinned her to the mat. Then she heard it. A laugh. A high, tinkling, glass-shod laugh. Completely devoid of warmth. Mira tried to scream. Her throat was clamped shut. As if by an invisible hand, she squeezed her eyes shut. When she opened them again, the room was empty. The Jasmine was gone. The anklets were silent. There was only the sound of Anaya's deep, even breathing. She told her parents in the morning. Her father, Rohan, dismissed it. "You're just tired, Mira. A nightmare." Her mother, Priya, looked at her with worried, practical eyes. "We can't leave. We have nowhere else to go. Don't frighten Anaya." But Anaya wasn't frightened. She was thriving. Her skin grew rosy. Seate more. She ran in the courtyard, her laughter echoing, but her laugh had lost its innocence. She began to wear her clothes in odd ways, wrapping her dupatta around her hips like a dancer. She painted her face with turmeric and charcoal. "The ladies are teaching me to dance," she told Mira. The resentment in Mira festered, mixing with the fear. Her sister was being stolen, and her parents refused to see it. The healthier Anaya became, the more distant she grew. She wasn't Anaya anymore. She was their little doll. One afternoon, Mira couldn't take it anymore. Anaya was in the courtyard, spinning in circles, her hands moving in practiced, graceful arcs humming that strange, alien tune. "Stop it," Mira screamed. "You look stupid. They aren't your friends. They're ghosts." Anaya stopped spinning. Her eyes, normally clear, were strangely cloudy. She stared at Mira. "They said you're jealous. Jealous that I was chosen, and you weren't." Something inside Mira snapped. The months of fatigue, of fear, of helplessness. Chosen? "You think you're special?" Mira advanced on her, her voice trembling with rage. "I'm tired of taking care of you. I'm tired of this place. I wish they'd just take you. Take you and never come back. Just leave me alone." The silence that followed was louder than a slap. Anaya stood frozen, her small face pale. She didn't cry. She just looked at Mira. "You really want me to go?" Mira turned, ran into her room, and slammed the door. She didn't answer. It was the last afternoon her sister was healthy. That night, the storm hit. Not a normal dust storm. This was a violent, raging thunderstorm that brought rain, a rare, furious rain. The wind shrieked through the corridors of the main Haveli, making sounds like wailing. Rohan and Priya rushed out, frantic to cover the few sacks of seed they had left, their only real asset. "Watch!" Anaya, Priya, yelled before disappearing into the downpour. Mira was left alone with her sister. Anaya was on her mat. The fever had come on like a fire. She was shaking violently, though Mira had covered her with 3 blankets. The wheezing was back, louder and deeper. "Mira," Anaya whispered, her eyes wide, staring at the ceiling. "They're here." "No one is here," Mira lied, her heart hammering against her ribs. The jasmine scent was seeping in again, but this time it was mixed with a stench from beneath. Something long rotted. Chank, chank, chank. The anklets weren't distant. They were just outside the door, and with them came the tinkling laughter, sharp with anticipation. "I'm cold," Anaya moaned, "and I'm hungry. I want kie. The rice put in, like mother makes." Desperation seized Mira Kia. She needed strength. She had to do something. "Okay," she said. "I'll make it. You wait, Ere. Ere, don't move." She bolted from the room, slamming the door behind her. The hallway was pitch black. Thunder cracked overhead. The anklets seemed to be dancing to the rhythm of the storm. They were everywhere now. Mira scrambled into the kitchen. Total darkness. She grabbed the matchbox from the shelf. Her hands were shaking. The first match wouldn't light. She heard a faint scratching at Anaya's bedroom door. The second match, she struck Italiano a gray streak. The smell of sulfur. No fire. Mira Anaya's weak voice called from behind the door. They're laughing. The tinkling laugh sounded right next to her ear. Thin, sharp, and icy. Mira's breath froze. She felt something. A cold presence brushed the back of her neck. Leave her alone, Mira screamed into the dark. She pulled out the third, fourth, fifth match. She scraped them against the box, against the stone wall. No fire, just broken sticks, and the smell of failure. Mira, I can't breathe. Anaya's voice was barely a whisper. The scratching at the bedroom door stopped. The anklets went silent. The laughter died. For a second, the only sound was the rain and her own frantic pulse. Then, a cough, a long, drawn-out rattle, and then silence. An absolute, heavy silence that drowned the storm itself. Hot tears streamed down Mira's face. Anaya! She tremblingly pulled the very last match from the box. She had no hope. She struck it out of sheer, defeated reflex. The flame erupted instantly. It burned bright, dazzling, illuminating the small, grimy kitchen. The fire danced cheerfully on the end of the wooden stick. Anaya's bedroom door was ajar. Mira walked forward, the match flame leading the way. She pushed the door. Anaya was lying on her mat. Her eyes were wide open, staring at the ceiling. She was no longer breathing. This strange, secret smile was still on her lips. The room was empty. The smell of Jasmine was gone. Her parents returned at dawn, soaked and exhausted, to find Mira sitting motionlessly beside her sister's cold body. Uncle Arun arrived the next day. He was Rohan's brother, a quiet man who had spent years in the Himalayas. He looked at Mira, then at Anaya. He said nothing about illness. He walked straight to the main Haveli. The lock on the door was broken, not from the outside, but from within. They followed him in. The dust was thick, but it was disturbed by footprints. Small, bare, childish footprints, and beside them, the faint, sweeping marks of someone in ink. Uncle Arun went straight to the Zanana, the women's quarters. He tapped on the floors. He found a loose board. Beneath it, a dark space. A dark space. Rohan lit a storm lantern. The light fell on two skeletons, still in the rotten finery of silk. They were shackled at the ankles with silver pails. They were dancers, Uncle Arun whispered. Or wives, buried alive. A Stamhan curse, a binding. Beside the two skeletons was a brass jar, carefully sealed. Priya thought it was treasure. Uncle Arun shook his head. He carefully pried it open. Inside was no gold, no rice, only a shriveled, dried toad, its leathery skin stuck to the bottom of the jar. The curse needed an exchange, Uncle Arun said, his voice heavy. A bound soul cannot be freed unless another takes its place. A young soul, a pure one. Mira stared at the dried toad. She remembered the scratching. She remembered the laughter. They hadn't come to take Anaya. They had come to celebrate their freedom. But why? Priya sobbed. Why Anaya? Uncle Arun looked at Mira. His eyes held no judgment, only an infinite sadness. They couldn't just take her. The curse required an invitation. A door had to be opened from our side. Mira shrank back, her hand flying to her mouth. She remembered her words in the courtyard. I wish they'd just take you. Just leave me alone. She remembered Anaya's reply. You really want me to go? And her own terrible silence. They left the Haveli that same day, abandoning everything. They never spoke of Anaya, never spoke of the colorful ladies. They moved to a crowded slum in Mumbai, trying to dissolve their horror in a sea of people. 6 months have passed. Mira is in their tiny, one-room apartment. Outside, the monsoon rains are lashing the city. She is alone. Her parents are working the night shift. She is trying to light a candle. She pulls a match from the box. She strikes it against the waxy strip. A gray streak, the smell of sulfur, no fire. The rain outside seems to pause. In the small space behind her, she hears it. Chank. 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 A single anklet, and the faint humming of an ancient, complex melody. Mira freezes. The smell of jasmine, sweet and rotten, seeps under the door. She fumbles for the second match. Her hand is shaking so badly, she can barely hold it. She strikes it. It fails. A tinkling laugh echoes in the room. Not two. Just one. Clear. Clear. And terrifyingly familiar. You wanted me to go, a child's voice whispers from the darkness. Now I'm back. You're not alone anymore. The door to the room creaks open. Mira stares at the last match in her hand. Thanks for watching until the end. What was your favorite part? Please let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss my future content. Your support is my biggest motivation. Thank you all so much.